Hi folks, I'm from Android.com where we get on Android every day. Anyway, today we're going to go ahead and find out how fast the Nexus 9 Tegra K1 processor is and versus the Note 4, since this is the fastest phone on the planet right now with the 805 processor, Snapdragon 805, versus the NVIDIA Tegra K1. So let's go do an Antutu test. Let's go do this, baby. Hi folks, so let's go ahead and do this. I've got the Nexus 9 on my left, and I've got my Note 4 on the right for comparison. And let's go ahead and test it exactly at the same time. You'll be able to see in real time how much faster the Tegra K1 processor is on the Nexus 9. Now the Nexus 9 does have the Tegra K1 dual core 2.3 gigahertz versus the Note 4, which actually has Snapdragon 805 processor clocked at 2.7 gigahertz. So if you're just looking at the frequency, the Note 4 should win this contest. But you'll see that the Nexus 9 does fairly well, and this is a good test. You know, I prefer Antutu. Quadrants you can kind of cheat Quadrant. Samsung software has code that can cheat Quadrant. So Antutu is probably the best method. Anyway, let me go ahead and fast forward all this, and let's look at the results together. Wow, take a number here, the Nexus 9 at 57,414 versus the Note 4 at 46,633. Now, the Nexus 9, of course, uses ART instead of Dalvik, which is default on the KitKat. And that may also have a lot to do with the score increase. Of course, the K1 processor is actually a lot faster. Let's actually go take a look at some of these numbers. Multitask much faster with the Nexus 9. You see 12,595 versus 7,191. Some of the important stuff to look at. Now the RAM, there's only 2 gigs of RAM on the Nexus 9 versus 4 gigs. So for RAM operation, the Note 4 actually ends up in top, but the actual RAM speed is much faster at 4934 versus 1994. Let's look at CPU, which is probably the most important point. Integer and floating point. Both the Note 4 actually, well, the CPU integer, the Nexus 9 wins by just a tad. The floating point, the Note 4 wins. Now this is for multi-thread. Multi-thread is when you have a bunch of apps open, for example, versus single thread. That's when only one single thread is running. Let's say they're just testing the one app. You can see that with one app, the Nexus 9 is faster. That is probably given that the quad-core processor versus a dual-core. So that probably makes sense. Now the big numbers we should look at is really the 2D graphics and the 3D graphics. 2D graphics, the Note 4 wins by a large margin. 3D graphics loses out to the Nexus 9. I think that's probably due to the resolution. In previous testings, you've seen that clearly that resolution does affect benchmark scores. With the Quad HD, you're going to get smaller score there. Other than that, the scores itself look like the Nexus 9 did really well with the UX part up on the top. Let's see over here. It says good supports large apps, multitasking, RAM excellent, 2D graphics excellent here, and yeah. So those are the results. Pretty fast. The Nexus 9 Tegra K1 processor is a good to go, approved. Yes, approved by the High on Android team. Definitely very fast processor. You're not going to have any problems playing with this one. While I was unboxing, I was a little bit slow because it was updating. Well, update was slow, but overall, I do like the performance on the Nexus 9. Now, when you do these performance tests, make sure there's only one app running. You can go to the recents. As you can see, I've did these tests with only one app running, which is Antutu. And also, make sure you didn't just play like a 3D game and then do the benchmark. I usually let the phone sit about 5 to 10 minutes before I do it. That way the processor is in your normal room temperature before you do the test. Anyway, thanks guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this benchmarking test. And thanks guys for watching this video. As you can see, the Tegra K1 processor is pretty fast. You know, just as fast as the one found on the Note 4. Now the Note 4 may lose this race, I believe, due to the higher Quad HD screen. So that does not mean that the Note 4 is slow. But obviously the screen resolution does affect the performance, as we have seen Note 4 versus the S5 and other phones. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and as always, stay on Android.